Hi, my name is Rich-Vaughn. I am the managing attorney with National Fertility Law Center. We're located in Los Angeles and San Diego, California, but we have a operation nationwide. I think the services that people are coming to the United States for are the professional, experienced surrogacy process that you can find in the U.S. The United States has probably the most professional and most experienced surrogacy agencies of anywhere else, and we work with almost 90 of them, so we really have a good feel for how well they operate and how consistent and reliable and professional they are. Almost every client we see for a surrogacy from another country is also doing egg donation. Sometimes we don't. And on a rare situation, we have a client that just comes to the U.S. for egg donation. I think people are coming to the United States versus India for surrogacy, again, because of the professional, reliable, and consistent surrogacy experience. The laws are fairly well developed here. We have Supreme Court cases in California, for example. There are statutes in places like Illinois and Texas, and the developed custom and practice in most of the states. The contracts between intended parents and surrogates are enforceable. There's a very strong doctrine called the doctrine of intended parentage, which started with case law in California and seems to be followed in most of the states. It's a big concern whether surrogates can change their mind, and I understand that concern. When we work with our intended parents, we actually get a court order that confirms that the intended parents are the legal parents and that the surrogate is not. So in that respect, with the court order plus the contract, you find that the intended parents' rights are secured and protected. Each state in the United States has a different way of proceeding. Some states, the court process is prior to the birth, and some states, the court process is after the birth. In most states, we can get both intended parents on the birth certificate through that court process. Sometimes you can get just one of the parents on initially, usually the bio-connected intended parent, and then the non-bio parent or the second parent can complete a second parent adoption, sometimes in the U.S., and sometimes they may need to go back home to do that. And then with that court order of adoption, wherever it's obtained from, in most cases, the birth state will amend the birth certificate to add both parents to the birth certificate. Intended parents that are same-sex couples or intended parents that live in countries where surrogacy is considered illegal, it may be more advantageous for them to only have one parent on the initial birth certificate and to travel back home with that version, and then later we can get the birth certificate amended to get both parents on there. Same-sex couples and single intended parents can also work in the United States. Sometimes their legal process for determining their parental rights will vary a little bit from what a straight person or a heterosexual couple would have to go through. But in all the states where we work, and we work in 33 states in the country, the parents can both obtain legal rights to their child. California is a great place for surrogacy, but it's not the only place where you can have a surrogacy and have it go well. We work in 33 states in the United States. There's actually a few more states as well where you can actually do a surrogacy, and it's allowed and permissible, and will be, if with proper advice, will be a smooth process for you. California, I think, got a lot of the early attention because we had a lot of California Supreme Court cases handling surrogacy issues, and it's with California law that the doctrine of intended parentage was developed. So for a long time, California was the one place everybody went, but many states have borrowed from these concepts and followed the example that California has provided, and while the process varies in other states, there are many states where it can be done now. So. The process for returning home with the child back to the home country is, first of all, when you obtain your birth certificate in the U.S., you then should apply for a U.S. passport for the child or children. When the child or children are born in the U.S., they're automatically a U.S. citizen. So with that, you can actually obtain a U.S. passport to travel back home with the child. So in addition to the passport and the birth certificate, if they wish, they can also take the court order with them. And those are the documents they might need to travel with to get back home. Once the intended parents from another country return home, they should actually speak with local counsel about the process for obtaining a passport in the home country and also naturalizing the child or registering that child in that country. In fact, it's advisable to speak to an attorney early on in the surrogacy, not just wait until you return home. We actually work with attorneys in at least 17 different countries, so we can make referrals to qualified, experienced attorneys who've handled this kind of a situation before. For intended parents from other countries where surrogacy may be restricted or illegal, first of all, we recommend finding local counsel, and we will actually coordinate with that local counsel on the issues that would affect the particular clients. For most of these clients in these countries that have these restrictions, it's really not relevant that the birth occurred through surrogacy. What's more relevant is that the birth occurred in another country. And so what we try to coordinate with the local counsel from the other country on is what the birth certificate should look like. For straight couples, it's really not a problem to get both of their names on there, and it doesn't look odd to come back with a birth certificate with both of their names. But for same-sex couples, for instance, coming back to their home country from the U.S. with a birth certificate that has 2 men on it or 2 women on it, that might not be the best approach to take. And so, again, we coordinate with local counsel on what the birth certificate should look like.